When I'm coloring with Blendabilities, I like to go from light to dark. So you can see here that I am just covering the whole area with a coat of the lightest color of the Daffodil Delight Blendabilities marker. I do want to point out, you can also see I'm doing this on grid paper. It's very important when you're coloring with the Blendabilities to have a few sheets. You want a good thick cushion of scratch paper underneath your project. When you're using Whisper White cardstock, at least for my experience using alcohol markers, the Whisper White cardstock is a little bit thin, and to get really good blending, you want to make sure that ink has somewhere to go. So you put the paper down underneath so that it can soak up any extra ink, and that will ensure that you always get a great blend. Now you can see I'm going in with the medium shade, and I am using little sort of feather-like strokes, sort of like a little flicking motion to add shading. Wherever you want your shading to be, you can flick on the next color. And now I'm going back in with the lightest color, and I'm doing that flicking motion again, and also making small circles on the line between the medium color and the dark color to blend it out. You can also see that I am using the brush tip end of the marker. I use almost exclusively the brush tip. Here I'm going in with the darkest color, the third, and I'm doing that little flicking motion again, just along the edge, not going quite as far with the shading as I did with the medium color. And then I'll come back in with the medium color and blend that out, as well as add a little bit more shading. So like I was saying, I use almost exclusively the brush tip, even in very small areas. I find that the brush tip is narrow enough to get into the small areas, and I also find that it creates a much better blend. I don't know if that brush tip has more saturation of ink on the tip. I don't know what it is, but I find that I get a much better blend when I use the brush tip. I really only use the fine point tip if I'm just doing one color in a very small area. I don't use that tip for blending. So now I'm going to repeat that same process for the door, and I'm using the Coastal Cabana markers here, starting out with covering the entire area with the lightest color. And I got a little bit where I didn't want it, so I'm using the colorless marker to kind of erase the ink where I didn't want it. And now I'm going to go in and do that same flicking motion from the side with the medium color, just like I did for the rest of the house. I'm just repeating the same process. And then the darkest color, just a little bit of shading right along the side, not going as far out as I did with the medium color. Then I'm going to take the lightest color, and using small circular motions, I'm going to blend that out really well. And again, I got a little bit of ink outside the lines. It can bleed a little bit. That's why you really need that paper underneath. And so I'm just using the color lifter to sort of push the color back in where I want it to be. Here I'm using some of the skin color assortment markers for the roof, and I am just going to repeat the same process, starting with the lightest color and moving to the darkest. And on this, I'm only using the two different brown colors. And here's where I am actually using the fine point of the marker. I am just coloring around the door frame, the trim, and the little like window boxes or trim on the windows. And I'm only doing it one color, I'm not doing any blending, and so that is why I'm using the smaller tip. And I'm going to again use the skin color marker assortment for the chimney, so I am just checking what those colors look like to see which color I want to use. And now I will color the chimney, again going from lightest to darkest. And I'm using one of those sort of skin tone colors and one of the brown markers to color in the chimney. And just blending that out, these two colors actually blended together really nicely. And here is my finished house, all colored in, and also the finished tag project that I made with this stamped image. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, let me know. Bye-bye.